This video is sponsored by Camp 8848.
In this video I want to show you how you can safely cross a high alpine snow slope without the use of crampons or an ice axe, and how to self-arrest if you lose your footing and start sliding very quickly down a snowbank. This can be a really dangerous situation. This actually happened recently to a friend of mine and he almost ended up in a crevasse and hurt himself quite badly. Did your life flash before your eyes?
Yeah. Kind of.
Dude, I was scared.
Yeah.
So this is a skill that you can learn, but it's certainly something that you don't ever want to have to use. I would not recommend that you ever do this using sand shoes and trekking poles. And I'm simply demonstrating it to show that it's possible if you absolutely need to cross a snowbank like this, if it's life and death. First of all, you want to assess whether it's necessary for you to cross this snowbank or not. Ideally, you would go up and around it, or below and around it, and not have to cross it at all. That is the first and most important thing. Secondly, if you do have to cross a snow slope, you want to look and choose your location where it is the lowest angle possible. Something that is above 35 degrees in angle is probably going to result in you falling and sliding. And so the lowest angle possible is the best choice there. You want to cross where it's very, very flat, if at all. Next, you want to have a look and assess the snowpack. If it is really hollow and very thin, you want to avoid those sections. You obviously want to avoid areas where there's huge cuts and gashes and big crevasses. You definitely want to be crossing below those areas, because if you do fall and slide and slip, you don't want to be sliding into the crevasse. It's much safer if you cross below any crevasses like that. And next, before you actually cross, you want to talk to everyone that's in your group. You want to explain the techniques that I'm showing you here. And also you want to get everything cinched down on your backpack. So you don't want water bottles flopping around everywhere. Get everything in the pack, and ideally wear rain pants and your rain jacket, and really cinch up your backpack and just make sure you're really tight and you're not going to lose anything here. When you take your first steps onto the snow, it's very important that you are placing both poles very, very firmly into the snow, and we're going to be maintaining 3 points of contact at all times. So put your poles in, get them really solid, then kick your first step, use the edge of your foot, cut your steps, plant your poles, use the edge of your foot, cut your steps. I like to use the blade and the edge of my shoe on an angle and really kick the snow in, such that it provides a little bit of an angled slope that I can really put my weight onto. So if you want to get some practice with this on a very safe snow slope that has a low angled, easy runoff, that has no obstacles, no crevasses, no rocks or anything, that is a good situation to practice this in. So trekking poles in, kick your step, place your trekking poles forward, continue kicking your step. It's really as simple as that. Just make sure you've got 3 good points of contact at all times. Make sure you are remaining very, very calm and chill, and you're taking it step by step. There should be no rush here at all. You've got all day. That's your mindset. You've got all day to cross this thing. You do not have to rush, okay?
The good thing is, like, I was relatively calm actually while it was happening.
Yeah.
First 5 seconds I was like,
First, I want to take a quick break to tell you about something very cool, which is the sponsor of this video, which is Camp Mountaineering. Camp 8848 is the only Nepali-owned and run apparel brand that produces fairly and solely in Kathmandu. I know the owners personally. This is a grassroots family business that treats their workers extraordinarily well. And despite their size and their excellent reputation among those who are in the know, all of their gear is still manufactured in Kathmandu. I came across this brand in 2011, searching through gear shops in Tamil, and I immediately noticed the difference in quality in their seams, their zips, and their fabrics. And I think Camp's quality and innovation is mainly thanks to its very short feedback loop, whereby local Sherpas who use the gear in the highest mountains in the world, they go out for a season, and after the season they come back to the factory and they give their feedback, and Camp makes the adjustments for the next season's gear. And this is a bit of a secret. Honestly, you wouldn't know about this unless you've been to Nepal. And if you know anything about their gear and their reputation in the high altitude world, especially for quality and sustainability and their local production, you just know that this stuff is world class when you pick it up and you feel it. And since the team at Camp in Nepal and also the new distribution arm here in Europe are now part of the extended Chase Mountains family, they're offering you a pretty good deal. Right now, if you head to the website camp8848.de and use the code CHASE, you can get 10% off your next purchase. Something you might like to check out is either the Salary soft shell that I'm wearing here, or the jacket that I'm wearing in this video, which is the Alpine hard shell. This features a breathable Dermazax 3-layer hard shell layer, which has a water column rating of 20,000. It is made from 100% recycled textiles, features shoulder pads with reinforced Kevlar para-aramid fiber for the best abrasion resistant on the planet, dual-way waterproof zippers, and weighs in at only 470 grams. You can check out this jacket and all of their other gear on their website camp8848.de. That's KAEMP8848.de. Offer is limited and applicable in the EU only. Terms and conditions apply. Visit camp8848.de and apply that discount code CHASE. Big thanks to the Camp team for sponsoring this video and this channel. Let's get back to the video.
And obviously, I'm wearing Ultras here. They're very soft rubber. They don't really have a hard edge on them, but you just got to do the best that you can with the footwear that you've chosen. Obviously, traditional mountaineering footwear is a lot better when it comes to cutting steps. And we're essentially just doing what you would usually do on backs and crampons and boots with sand shoes. And it is not ideal. And it is definitely not safe. And again, I want to express clearly that this is not a good idea. So another tip with the trekking poles, this is one of the few situations where I would say that using a strap like this is not a good idea, simply because it's going to take you an extra second or two to get out of that, to grab the poles and to dig them into the ground. So when you are crossing a snow slope, I think it's probably best if you just hold them free without the straps, and then you can quickly bring them together, jam your poles into the ground. So once you lose your footing, probably what's going to happen is you're going to end up on your butt. You're going to bring the trekking poles together. You're going to grab them quite low, because if you grab them up here, you're likely to snap this first section. So grab them as low as you can, then roll onto the side, probably your right side, your strongest side. Dig the tip of the trekking pole into the snow and load your body onto the trekking pole such that it digs into the snow and slows you down. And then I start falling, I roll onto my front, dig my trekking poles in. Okay, the first thing you want to do after you have stopped yourself is to take a minute and just take a few breaths. You want to completely relax and just gather your thoughts and calm yourself down a little bit. Once you've self-arrested, once you've actually stopped, it's really important then to get your foot cut into the snow. So dig your first step. You can do that with the most comfortable foot. I like to do it with my outside foot first. Dig your step, then come up into a kind of a kneeling position. Dig your second step, then arrange yourself onto your poles. Dig your poles into the snow, and then you're in a standing position. From here, you can take a breath, calm down, and then start your journey back to the other side of the snow slope. Now, the likelihood is you're not going to have a lot of time to think about this, but when you're practicing it, I would say have one hand on the lower section, one hand, around where the next notch is. This first one is kind of for guidance, and I think this one above is really kind of for pressure. But basically, you're just going to be digging as hard as you can into the snow in any way that you possibly can. But I do think it's important to practice this in a safe environment so you can figure out, what works for you. The roll is something you kind of need to practice a little bit as well. Firstly, I think you need to practice kind of getting onto your butt, sitting up and bringing across the trekking poles across your body like this. So in an ideal situation, you would do exactly the same thing with the trekking poles that you would do with an ice axe.
What am I doing?
Get down a little bit lower so you're like a little bit more comfortable.
What's my hair?
Yeah, and just kind of slide on your belly. You'll go pretty quick. Dig it in. Yeah.
Kind of like that.
Nice. So the steps for self-arrest with an ice axe are basically get yourself onto your butt first, then get the point of the axe across your hip, so such that you have kind of an angle across your body. So you're holding one into your chest and one into your hip. Then you dig the axe into the snow, then you throw your body across and over, and that is going to enable you to be on your front side. Then you can get your trekking poles into the snow. So it's exactly the same situation, more or less, using an axe versus using a trekking pole. So those steps again are seated, poles across the body, dig the pole into the ground, roll over and dig into the ground, dig as hard as you can and bring yourself to a stop. If you do fall and you go directly onto your stomach, it's going to be probably pretty difficult for you to organize your trekking poles and get them into the ground. Also, you know, you're likely going to be ripping up the front of your body. In the best possible situation, I think it's best to get you into seated, poles across the body, jam the pole into the ground from the hip, then roll over onto your stomach. I think that's probably the best way to go. But in reality, is very different to practice. I think it's very, very important to get good practice in a safe environment and then work it out what works best for you. Using this, you can basically guide your fall and control yourself like a brake. This is called glissading, and it's a very legitimate way of getting it down a mountain. From there, cut your step, get yourself back up to standing. This doesn't have to be a big serious deal. If you get a little bit of practice on a safe environment, you're going to get really, really good at this, and eventually you're going to be really confident in it. But again, like I said at the start of the video, do not rely on this. You should never cross a snowbank like this without crampons and an axe. You are really asking for trouble. But having said that, I think it's a good idea to get a little bit of practice in the odd case that you have to cross it. That's all for this video, guys. Stay safe, get some practice in. I'll see you on the summit.